Hello and welcome to Political Voice. My name is Moses Humphrey. Now we continue our legacy series on the performance of President Muhammadu Buhari and look at how he's performed in various sectors as his 8-year tenure comes to an end. Our focus today is telecoms. Well, the telecommunication industry, President Buhari would leave behind come May 29 is one that has significantly gained confidence, but is still punching below its weight. The industry accounted for over 80% of the 16.51% that the ICT sector contributed in the country's gross domestic product, GDP, in 2022. And according to data from the National Bureau of Statistics, it contributed 13.35% to GDP in real terms, compared to the oil and gas industry, which contributed 5.67%. It is a significant leap compared to where the industry was in 2015. Now, when it managed to record 8.5%, the telecom industry has consistently been among the top 5 performers of the Nigerian economy in the past 5 years. By the end of 2015, the number of telecom subscribers was about 151,017,244, and by February 2023, that number had reached 226,835,732, meaning the industry added 818,488 in nearly 8 years of the President Buhari's administration. And some experts say the achievements of the industry could be traced to a few policies driven by the National Broadband Plan 2020-2025, which the administration created after suspending the previous broadband plan of 2013 to 2018. However, it is important to note that it took over a year for the new national plan to come into place. Around the period, Etisalat left the market due to a $1.2 billion debt it owed Nigerian banks, and then a messy takeover by EMTS ensued. Also, it was under President Muhammadu Buhari that operators like MTN were fined $5.2 billion, which was later reduced to $1.7 billion. The fine impacted the company's revenue as it amounted to 40% of its revenue at the time and led to a 30% drop in the company's share value. Well, I do have a guest joining me virtually. Let us into your assessment of the state of things in the telecommunications industry right now.
Okay, thank you so much once again for having me. The state of telecommunication sector in Nigeria today, I would want to say that is one that is buoyant, is better than the way it was in 2015. There has been a lot of improvement, a lot of changes here and there. And during the course of your opening remarks, you made mention of a lot of things which are very valuable. They are facts, as a matter of fact. So a lot of changes are coming under the presidency of Buhari. So he has done a lot. And like you rightly said, it can be attributed truly to the 2020-2025 broadband telecommunication broadband policy of this administration. So, like it is true, yes, say fact that the sector is in the right direction. It's forging the way it's supposed to be to do. So, and if I'm not mistaken, it should be one of the fastest growing sector in the world. By that I mean the telecommunication sector in Nigeria is the fastest growing in the world. So we are boosted.
Yeah, and truly, from what we can see, it's making a lot more, impact than even oil and gas that Nigeria tends to focus in. But what were the expectations in the sector? For example, expectations in the area of labor, that's the practice of labor
Mm.
practice.
Okay, then thank you so much. In that aspect, find there have been a lot of improvement, like I said, in terms of infrastructure, connectivity, data, and what do you call it now? The contribution of the sector towards the GDP of the country and all what have you. Everything fine is rosy, but in terms of labor, I must say, pathetically speaking now, that it's not the way it's supposed to be. The laborers, the workers that are laying the golden egg, their plight is nothing to write home about. What we have seen over time is that rather than for the fortune of the workers to be improving, it has been progressing. You see a situation whereby an engineer, a field engineer, when the telecommunications, I mean, when the sector was privatized newly, you see whereby a field engineer is employed, given a car and a driver attached to him for him to be walking around. But now, and also with a fantastic package, but now you see that these are no longer there. There's nothing like a vehicle to be moving you around again. There's nothing like a driver attached to you. And it's even very worse to the extent that even these workers are the ones that provide a lot of things for themselves. They provide the cars, they move it, they provide the tools, and what have you. So perhaps we are looking at, if you are to look at it from that perspective, I would say that telecommunications under Buhari regime is nothing to write home about.
But why were the privileges removed? The ones you just mentioned. I mean, they were there before. And when you say before, what year? Between what year?
Mm, why to I'm asking why from our own perspective, I want to say that it is the hallmark of a capitalist. They always want to look at the way of cutting costs, maximizing profit at the detriment of workers. All these infrastructures they are putting in place, all these facilities they are putting in place, they cannot cut corners in them. If they don't put in place top-notch facilities, definitely it will affect their output. So the victim has always been the workers. So it's as a result of trying to maximize profit, we do away with a lot of largesse that have been benefited by the workers. And when you are looking at the year, like I said, from the inception, maybe around let's say between 2002, 2005, during that period, you see things are very rosy. But this period, most especially between the period of between 2015 and to this day, things have not been so rosy for, like I said earlier, my emphasis is on field engineers,
Okay.
that's field maintenance engineers.
Okay, but we don't get to hear that telecommunication field engineers or telecommunication workers are going on strike, like we hear in some sectors like health. We don't hear that very often. Doesn't that
Yeah,
point to the fact that things are kind of a lot better with you people?
yes, you are right to say that our noise has not really been so loud the way it should. Basically, because the sector is, to put it literally speaking, is new. And as a
Okay.
result of that, union in the sector is also very new. So as a matter of fact, the registration of the union was done in 2015. Hitherto, there was no union that had jurisdiction over the workers in that particular sector. So basically, because of that, you get to see that our performance is not as those that have been in existence for a very long time. Then apart from that also, there is this fear factor, this is we are dealing with private owners of business. So we tend to see that they are more aggressive, they are not as accommodating as governments, as in public sector. So they are not as accommodating as the public sector. So it makes it gives that discouragement on the part of the workers to belong to the union. And when you are unable to organize these workers into the union, so you cannot be calling out for industrial action because nobody will dare listen to you. But I tell you that to a very large extent, things are changing for better for us. The last time I appeared on your program, you could remember on the 1st of May, I started an instance whereby we were going to deal with one particular company which had to do some projects with all these telcos, So and because of the what's it called, the size of the market, and we are unable to, as it is today, organize all the workers, or even as a matter of fact, we have not been able to organize, let me see, maybe 15% of the workforce within the sector. So you can imagine that is the reason why the warning strike we called, though very effective, very biting on the company, and some aspect of the telcos affected them a lot. But had it been, we have the capacity, we have been able to successfully organize, say, even 70% of the workforce within the sector, then whatever action we take definitely will be felt by Nigerians, by the masses.
All right, talking about actions by the masses, let's look at the ban on Twitter. What impact did it have on the telecommunication industry? Was it negative? How bad was it? Was it positive? If it was, how good was it? Because you do recall that at that time
sorry, I missed it. Apologies.
no problem. You do recall that at that time, and some Nigerians switched to using alternative means of there's this VPN, yes. Thank you very much. Nigerians switched to, the VPN thing, and how. Give us a holistic view of how everything affected the telecommunication industry.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, it affected negatively, I must say, because to the masses, the Twitter, a lot of people were used to Twitter in doing their businesses, advertisements, and a lot of things they do on Twitter that was fetching them money. And suddenly, access to Twitter was removed automatically. It will affect a lot of people. So a lot of people lost a large amount of money as a result of the ban. Though when you look at it from another angle, yes, Nigerians, like you pointed out, we are very smart. We always look at, okay, what is another alternative, and people switch in order to what do you call it, to pushing the effect of the ban. They switch to using VPN, but the side effect of that is that they get to expose themselves, because they will not be in terms of security, unlike when there was no ban on the Twitter, they could do it the way they ought to do ordinarily. But apart from that also, is that you see that people settle for alternatives, Apart from Twitter, we focus more on other ones like Facebook, Instagram, and what have you. So, but by and large, during the period of the ban, it affected a lot of people. People lost a lot of money.
All right, now the industry, we know that it's accounted for 80% of the 16.51% that ICT sector contributed to Nigeria's gross domestic product in 2022, just last year. And that's according to data that we have. Now, but when we look at, as you have also rightly pointed out, the welfare of engineers and maybe some members of staff in comparison to some other sector like the oil and gas, how would you explain that? Do you feel you're not getting enough attention like you are given? You're not getting the kind of attention that you're given. Are you being underpaid, or would you say, yeah, it's okay? But how would you describe it?
I would describe it as extremely poor compared
Extremely
to oil
poor,
and
you
gas
say?
sector. And like you rightly said, we are performing far better than oil and gas sector. So compare our pay to theirs is nothing to write home about. And our voices are not yet in edge rather
Now, when you
the
say
way it's supposed to be.
yes, you said extremely poor. That's heavy. Extremely poor.
Yes,
And I was going to ask,
extremely poor.
why haven't you complained? Why haven't you drawn attention to it?
I made mention of it earlier that
Yeah.
the sector is new, so also the union and the reception of unionization within the sector is one that is still very very low. People are not really accepting yet out of fear majorly the union. They are not yet embracing the union the way they should. So, but with what we have started, with what we are doing, a lot of people are the situation is changing for good. I mean, for better. You understand? So, like the complaint I laid the other time we appeared on your program. Now, we have forced them to agree that yes, all those statutory workers policies, welfare policies rather, that are that have not been implemented within the sector, to start implementing them. You understand? So we have that agreement because you can imagine this is even a very good example that I can give you to let you know how poor the workers in the sector are being treated. These road engineers, the pension fund contribution, the right dues, I mean the right percentage are supposed to be remitted for them have not been they have not been remitting it. What do you call it? The health also, the HMO, what we refer to as the health management of the what do you call it? As it's nothing to write home about as well. You see a situation whereby an employee, a food engineer, will go to an hospital, an HMO for the treatment in an HMO, and anything beyond 5,000 naira, they will tell the person that the package is not covered. No,
Anything
that is
beyond
for
5,000.
himself. And meanwhile, the minimum standard is that he should be able to cover him. I mean, the package is supposed to cover the employee, cover his spouse, and the four of his dependents. So all these things we are fighting, and then we have forced them to agree that they will start implementing all this. Also, because of the nature of their job, these people they are at risk of a lot of things. They are exposed because they work at any day, at any time within 24 hours. They can be called upon in the hours of the night to go and work. They cannot turn it down. They go into bushes, they go into villages, places that they are not so familiar with. So they are exposed to a lot of insecurity. So as a result of all this, we are also working tirelessly to make sure that life group assurance is put in place for them. So, and the employers we are talking with, that is the employers of our members that we are talking with presently, they have agreed to start implementing all this.
Okay, now talking about your employers and the dangers that field workers experience, I like to believe that some field workers go on masts. They climb onto masts to rectify issues. Let's say when there is a thunder strike or something related to that affects the mast. Well, I believe that's how it works. Now, I am one person who is afraid of heights. you know, and then imagine how high these masts are, and imagine humans, people getting to climb all the way up in the name of work. Do these employers provide some sort of hazard allowance, something of that nature, just in case there is something goes wrong and an individual is affected? Are there things that they provide to help cushion, the effect of treatments and other things related to the health of these workers?
Mm. Okay. To answer your question, I will want to speak to the disadvantages or the negative aspect of the term outsourcing. By outsourcing
Okay.
jobs that ordinarily you are interested in, you do, and you are giving it to another company to do for you. You understand? So basically, in a layman definition, that's what outsourcing is.
So that's
So
that's
you
what plays
realize
out.
that
Is that what plays out
these
mostly?
telcos, hello,
Is that what plays out
sorry,
mostly? Are things majorly outsourced?
exactly. That's the point I'm trying to make. So this aspect of the job are majorly, as a matter of fact, as it is today, without fear of being contradicted, I would say that 100% of these field engineers are outsourced. So these telcos, they run away from responsibility by outsourcing them, and then when they do, you get to see that even the vendors that they outsource them to also in turn outsource to another set of employers. So as the way as they keep outsourcing, you get to see that the what do you call it? All these benefits are
Taken
dropped
away.
for the workers. So to answer your question directly, as it is today, we do not have anything pertaining to insurance for these workers. We have a scenario by at least about 2 or 3 instances whereby field engineers, they call them riggers actually, those that climb masts, they call them riggers. You see that they fall off from the mast, and that is it. They are gone, they are dead, and their families are left unattended to. So, but like I said to you, we are looking at it that yes, there should be group life assurance for them. That one is even statutory. Then beyond this now, we are in the process of also negotiating the CBA for them. And the CBA that will be negotiating will also ensure that there is what we refer to as a hazard allowance that will be paid to them. You understand? So this will compensate them for the hazard they are exposed to during the course of carrying out their job, their duties.
Now, I understand that the union is so new. The industry itself is new. I mean, you've pointed out that you've really stressed that aspect. But then I'm trying to wrap my head around when things go wrong, when lives are affected, like you rightly pointed out, that some people actually fall off, but because it's been outsourced, you really cannot hold the telcos responsible. So you look for whoever outsourced it to the person, and I understand how this things work sometimes. But has there been any time that members, a few members have come together to say, look, I lost a friend, or I lost a colleague. Let us fight for the family members. Let's make sure that something is given. Has there been a time that that has been done? And did anybody try to, muffle the voices of people if they did? can you talk about them? Or is it something, is it an area that you'd rather not go into for fear of victimization?
Yeah, actually, I don't think it's an area I should not speak about.
Okay.
Should be able to talk about things like this because it affects life, it affects the welfare of our members. You know, like I mentioned to you, even the sector itself is older than the union. By that, I'm talking about because we are the private aspects of the telecommunications. You understand? Private. So, and we got registered in 2015. So the sector is older than us. So but despite that, actually, we are making effort to bring these workers together. And then after engaging a lot of them, we heard that yes, before our coming, that even before we get to organize them, incidents like that, they are trying to take them up, even to the level of the lawmakers in Abuja. They say most especially the House of Representatives, after bringing themselves together, they go there to lodge their complaints. The lawmakers will call the companies involved, and at the end of the day, nothing will come out of it. And then we also heard of instances whereby even individuals also carry these companies, sue them, take them to court and all that, like that. So, but with the coming of the union and the union being in charge, things will be done better. You understand? And unfortunately, we are in a country whereby if you do not go to the extreme, by the extreme I mean that if you don't take a far-reaching action that will affect everybody in the country, even the government, you will never be given any form of attention. I even personally, as a union, we greeting severally on our issues to the Ministry of Labour, even at one point in time also to the lawmakers like that, but still nothing is done. Okay, look at the example of the instance I gave earlier, the 3-day warning strike. It was publicized. Despite the publicity that we gave, the people in authority that are supposed to take up the responsibility of talking to us and intervening, none of them did. Most especially the Ministry of Labour, they did not do. But if, like I said, we are relating, we have as a majority of our members are district engineers. If you tell them now today that network should go down, they have the capacity to do that, and they are ready, as a matter of fact, to do that. Until we are able to achieve that, to make sure that even these communications we are doing will become impossible, I think that would be, unfortunately, that is the only time they will give us the recognition. We are shouting now, even on the platform. These are the problems we are facing. These are the things these are the experiences, bad experiences we are having. Yet they are not listening to us. But we are working towards that. We are working towards that. And then by the time we are able to do that successfully, perhaps the regards supposed to have, they will have it. The pen today, if pen, for example, threatens to go on strike, everybody will be panicking. Even people in government will also say we will ensure that they do not. So when we also announce ourselves to the world, I'm sure they will start running after us as well. And we will get there, we will do it.
Okay, but even as you do so, please consider the common man who needs who needs their their devices to keep their business going.
As a matter of fact, it's the consideration we have been having. I mean, we have been giving this consideration, and that is what has been holding us back. But there's always a limit to everything. We may not have that luxury of time and patience again to keep considering them. And when we take the action, though it's not one that we will be happy to take, but it's just going to be a last resort. We have been talking, we keep talking, we keep shouting. So if our voices are still not being heard, and what is due to us are not given to us, then we will be left with no other option other than to do that.
All right then. But what exactly would you personally consider to be the biggest difference within telecoms in the past 8 years? biggest difference, impact made?
I'm trying to see which angle you would like me to speak to.
You
Like
could
I said
just
before,
take them one after the
if
other.
it is the angle
If
of
yeah.
the workers and their experiences, that is nothing to write home about. But
Okay.
when we are talking about putting infrastructures and the likes in place, then yes, for me, I want to say the licensing of the 4G and the 5G is a joker, and also the addition to the what do you call it now, the fiber is also another major inroad for us.
Okay. Now there's a question I skipped. I wanted to ask you that one. I wanted you to narrow, the narrow down to the minimum wage and consequential adjustments. I had that question earlier, but I just it skipped my mind. Can we go back to it? Minimum wage and
Minimum
consequential
wage and the
adjustment.
consequential adjustments. I think to a very large extent that has to do with the public sector. For our sector, we do have that as a challenge. As a matter of fact, we do have that as a challenge. So we do not really bother so much on that. Though, like we are presently poorly remunerated. So we are working towards achieving, improving upon that. But like I said, minimum wage is not our issue. We are paid, obviously. I'm not shy, or I cannot hide that from the world. We are paid beyond
Handsomely.
or above the minimum wage.
All right. All right. Now, yes, that's it's a good thing to learn that yes, at least there is some sort of succor that is coming in. Your payment is good, and you have said it that your payment is
I
good.
never said it is good though. I only said it is above minimum wage.
Okay. Now, help me, help me evaluate broadband penetration, especially in rural areas. How effective has it been?
Yeah, to a very large extent, it has been effective because a lot of people, I mean, a lot of villages that have not been penetrated before now have been penetrated. You even when you travel by road, you see that virtually everywhere you get to, there's this connectivity. You are able to talk to your people, loved ones, and the likes like that. So the broadband penetration is a good one, and it is yes, we are able the dividends. You will permit me to use that word. So it's a good one. Though there are still more grounds to be covered, we can improve upon this.
All
So
right. Now, as an expert in the field, we know that the government has spoken a lot about putting things in place to ensure that kidnappers and bandits that have taken advantage of using mobile devices to um, collect ransom from people. Government has spoken a lot about trying to clamp down and restrict them. How difficult is it? How difficult is it to trace these, nefarious activities when they are carried out?
mm, okay, it is actually as it is today. It is extremely difficult.
It is difficult.
Extremely difficult.
Okay,
Yeah, it is difficult to trace them. It is difficult to trace them. Let
tell
me
me
give
why.
you an analogy.
Okay.
The facilities we deploy presently or we have presently cannot narrow down where these elements are when whenever they must have strike. For example, now what we have presently, if something happen, say for example in Ikeja, uh,
Hmm.
so what the facilities we have can only say it is around Ikeja, maybe
Okay.
specifically speaking around Allen. So that's what it will indicate. You understand? And Allen itself is also is big. So where will we go to? Where will we search specifically within Allen? So that's an issue. Perhaps we need to try to upgrade our facilities and talk more with these telcos and look at the kind of facilities we have. Then also, I can remember also, I don't know what happened, maybe because of all these changes that have been evolving and companies muscling themselves out of business. I can remember that some years back, even on your phone, while you are on your phone, you will be seeing your location. For example, if you are in Ikeja, you look at your screen, you see that it indicates Ikeja. That means that is where you are. But these days, you no longer see things like that. And like I said, companies that were deploying such facilities, majority of them are losing projects, this, what do you call it, these projects to other vendors, that are not deploying such facilities. So perhaps this is another aspect that the company, I mean the government, NCC now in particular, need to look at, and maybe also Standard Organization of Nigeria will also need to look at, so that the emphasis will be on those top-notch facilities that can really pinpoint.
Okay, so
Yeah,
but those facilities exist, right? Do they exist?
sure, they do exist. They do exist. They
And
do
that
exist.
and does that mean that Nigeria is not we're not there yet in terms of getting facilities, in terms of meeting up with the what is experienced the world over, especially by developed climes?
That is a fact. That's a fact. We are not yet there. We are not yet there. Yeah, even as a matter of fact, all this 4G, yeah, we are not even doing the 4G itself. That's a fact. Though they may be telling you we are on 4G, we are going to 5G, we are not yet even on 4G. That's a
Oh,
fact.
if we're not yet on 4G, I wanted to ask if we're even ripe for 5G. But if you're saying that we're not,
And
go ahead.
yes, you may want to look at it that way, that we may not be right for 5G, but the deployment will also accelerate things, you understand, so that we will be able to go beyond the 4G, then work towards the 5G itself.
Okay. Now let's look at data access and internet. Now, before we come to data access, still talking about equipment to trace, nefarious activities, unscrupulous elements, and the rest of them. Um, does the NIN play any role? Because Nigerians were compelled to register phone numbers using their NIN as a way to curb such criminal activities. Does that play any role at all? Can that actually help in tracing unscrupulous elements when they carry out these activities?
Yes, so that's a very good one. And I must tell you, it has been helpful. That's a fact, it has been helpful. And, ordinarily, you see people, especially the fraudsters, otherwise, that we call Yahoo Yahoo here.
Mm.
You see where they pick up a call, I mean a phone, and they dial you, call you, speak with you, to tell you all manner of things. So if those numbers are registered in their name, yes, of course, they are easily picked up. And you ask the guys in the EFCC, they will tell you that it has really assisted them in nabbing these individuals. And also, even for the bandits and the terrorists and the likes like that, of course, it has assisted also. That is for those that are not knowledgeable among them, So, but you see that even now, what they do is that if the numbers of the victims that they use, their victims that they use to contact their relatives or speak to their relatives. So that's one way they use by passing this making of NIM to individual phone lines. But to answer your question again, in a simple term, I would say that yes, it has been very, very helpful.
All right, so now let's talk about data access. Data access. We know some Nigerians get confused when you purchase data, but it doesn't seem to last you for the duration. Let's say you buy data, let's say you get yourself like 20 gig, and it's supposed to last you for a month, and then before you go 2 weeks plus into the month, you've exhausted it, and you're wondering, what did I don't do other than WhatsApp and Facebook, and maybe Instagram as well, but it's gone. Is that something that we need to know about? How data disappears from phones?
Mm. Okay, thank you so much. That's an aspect a lot of Nigerians grumble about, they complain bitterly about. You know, they will say data that it has gone, it did not even last for more than 1 week. But what Nigerians really need to understand is that the what do you call it, the subscription you did is the timeline for the subscription you did is what that 1 month is talking about, not the data itself. The timeline for you to dispense with that subscription you need, the data you got. For example, if it is 4 gig and you say 4 gig for 2 days, so for you to for you not to be able to continue using that 4 gig, even if the data has not been exhausted, if you just keep it aside for 2 days without using it, so after that 2 days you will not be able to access that product unless you roll it over by renewing your subscription. So that is what Nigerians really need to understand. So for the data itself, you can have you can purchase a 20 gig data, and you get to exhaust it that same day.
Why?
Meanwhile, they have told you that it will last for 1 month. Not lasting, sorry, for 1 month. It will, the timeline for you to use it is 1 month. But you can't exhaust it in a day. And now why is this so?
Okay.
Is that a lot of Android phones we use, you know, you have a lot of applications that are running at the background. And whether you open them or not, they are running on data. You understand? So Nigerians really need to understand this as a fact. Then, if you are now opening them and you watch films, you watch videos, you go to TikTok, for example, and the likes like that. So that consumes data a lot. You know, you understand? So this really explains why people will complain to you that they just bought data and before you know it, the data are gone. They will even say that the network provider was the one that removed their data and the likes like that. But in reality, is that unknowingly to us, we are the ones that have been using the data.
Okay. Okay, so that exonerates the telcos from that
Yeah.
equation. Now, before I let you go, let's. We know that in some parts of the world, once you get into a place, whether whether you are logged into the Wi-Fi or not, but once you move around, you see free Wi-Fi to use, and you can just put on your Wi-Fi on your phone, and it comes in. But here it's not like that. We are heavily dependent on individual access to the network providers giving you internet and all of that. When do you think will be a time frame for Nigeria to get to the point where internet access will be easily and readily available to everyone? Is this something that you see us achieving in the nearest future?
In the nearest future, I would say no. In the nearest future, I would say no. It will take a while before you may be able to achieve that. And then in reality, there will be some people that will have to bear the cost. That's just a fact.
Why
If, for
why do you
example,
say no? And what are the costs involved?
by that I mean that it's all about the usage of data. So by Wi-Fi, that is, you are using the data that may not be yours. You understand? So if, for example, like I heard a while back, I don't know if it is still ongoing. Is it Google now that selected some campuses? You understand? So once you walk into those campuses, some locations in those campuses, what you have is free Wi-Fi. You can be browsing, you do a lot of things for free. You understand?
Even at
So
the
it
airports
is
too,
for
it's like
free.
that at the airports as well. The local
Yeah,
airports.
as
Yeah.
in that report, like that, you understand. So it is for free that for the end users, but the those that are paying for them is Google, for example, like I said before. Google, for example, like I said before, is the one paying for it. So perhaps maybe what we may need to do to achieve that in the next future is the involvement of government and trying to make all these corporate organizations see the need for them to venture into that as their CSR. You know, if that is done, then perhaps we should be able to achieve that in no distant time.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Okono Abdullahi, Secretary General, Private Telecommunications uh, Senior Staff.
Communication Senior Staff Association of Nigeria. Thank you
Yes.
so much for
Thank you
having me.
very
It's
much for
always a
being on the
pleasure to
program.
be on your show.
All right then. Well, this is where we'll wrap it up on Political Voice today. My name is Moses Humphrey. Tomorrow we will continue with the presidential appraisal from 2015 to 2023. Join us same time tomorrow. Bye for now.